Alright, this is the Nutcase build guide. So the first thing you want to do is solder your MCU pins to your PCB. Okay, I just found that it was easier to do this with the case parts attached. So you can attach your case parts just by snapping the plate into them. There's two pieces. There's the thicker bottom case with the USB cutout, and there's the thinner middle one that does not have the USB cutout. They look pretty much the same other than the thickness and the cutout. Okay, so make sure that the side with the indents that allow you to snap a plate in is the side that you attach to the PCB, and make sure that once you snap them in, they are aligned so that when you assemble the case later, they are not misaligned and hard to slide in. Obviously, you can change this later, so it's not too much of an issue if you don't align them right now. But yes. So now we'll just keep going. Sorry, I have a cold. So after you're done soldering the MCU pins, what you want to do next is solder your switches. So make sure while you're soldering to be careful that you don't melt the housing of your MCU pins while you're soldering the switches, because the switch that is right behind the MCU, it'll be very close to the MCU pins. So just make sure that you don't damage those. And another thing you want to do after you're done soldering the MCU pins is also to snip the excess. I'm not sure whether this will actually affect the final build, like whether it comes together properly, but there's not much space left based on the case design. It's almost designed to be an exact snug fit. So just make sure that you snip those off so that they don't happen to cause interference later. For most of these soldering parts, it'll be pretty simple, except the switches are quite loose in the plate. So you want to be careful when soldering them. You can use tape or something to hold them up, or you can just prop the whole case up on the switches and it should be okay. But yes, I think we'll skip forward to the part where we are gonna solder the MCU in. Okay, so I mean the next step, right? Solder your MCU in when you're done soldering in the switches. I forgot to record the part where I solder in the switches, but you know, it's the same as every other keyboard, so I think you'll be fine. At this point, you can balance it on all the switches. If it's a bit wobbly, just put something extra, or if you have clips to solder with, use those. So now you just want to soldering your MCU. And then when you're done soldering your MCU, you want to go to the FE server, get the hex file, get the JSON file, flash your MCU properly, and then after that you can load the JSON file into VIA and it should be able to pick up as the smart pad, whatever it's called. I don't remember already, okay? So once that is picked up, you can test the keys. The default mapping is H, E, H, enter for the top row, and then the bottom row is SMUG. You can rebind it how you want in VIA right now, and if it's not working, obviously you want to contact FE to get a replacement. So we'll skip forward a little bit again. So now you can see the next part you want to solder in is the pins for the OLED screen. So you want to use the shorter one that comes default with your OLED screen. Don't use the longer one provided. I mean, you can, but you need to snip it later. So like, what's the point, right? The shorter one is almost the perfect length already. So there will be no snipping required. So you take the shorter one. I use tape to hold it in place while soldering to make my life easier. So once you've held it in place, the same goes. You solder in the pins for this. And then after that, you can put on the other case parts, so we'll skip forward to that. So we'll first, everything assume is snapped on already. Like I took it out to make soldering easier. You can do that too. Make sure you put it back afterwards. And now we want to put the bottom plate on, the one with the Anya face and hey. Alright, so you just align that to the bottom plate, and then you want to take out the 8 screws that are included in the screws and standoffs bag. So you can align it and then take 4 screws and screw it in. You'll only be needing the screws in this pack, by the way. We'll be using none of the standoffs because the case is just snapped together by different pieces, and the spacing is determined by the size of the pieces, so the standoffs are really not required. I think I should have, or already have, tapped the screw holes for you by screwing it through once with my screws, but if I haven't, you'll need to tap it yourself. Just be careful, apply like constant downward force, make sure it's going in straight lah. If it's not straight, it's probably fine. You can probably just take it out and re-tap it in another way. Or if you're having trouble, just stick your soldering iron in the screw and hold it tight, and it should just melt into the hole as well. That will also work. It's a bit more scuffed, but you won't be seeing any of this. The screws will all be hidden anyway. So once you're done screwing the bottom plate in, the next piece you'll want to prepare is the top plate. So we'll skip forward to that as well. As you can see here, I've already prepared my top plate. I've snapped it into the top plate piece, and now I'm just gonna align it with the 4 pins that I soldered in before for the OLED screen, and I'm gonna screw it in. You can also choose to not screw it in first and take out the top plate cover first, so that you can solder first without having to worry about melting the plastic around. I did this to save me a bit of time. You know, it doesn't really matter. If you think you can do it without, it's fine. The same here. I should have tapped the screw holes for you, but if I didn't, again, sorry, but you can tap it yourself. It's just plastic. Your metal screw should be able to go in without issues. So in this case, when you're screwing in, you want to screw it in all the way such that it goes through the top plate cover through to the middle thinner case piece as well. This is what will be like holding your top plate in, but in addition to the OLED being soldered there, of course. So now, sorry, now I'll be skipping forward to when the OLED is soldered as well, and we'll be assembling the rest of the case. Okay, here you can see me screwing in the other top plate screws in. As you can see, for this unit I didn't tap it, so I had to apply a bit more force, but it's okay. I only started screwing at this step because I wanted to make sure that the OLED was aligned first, so that after that, you know, the screws, those are not much of an issue since they will tap themselves in anyway. And I don't need to be, they just need to be kind of aligned as opposed to needing to be aligned for the top case to look good for the OLED screen, right? Yeah, so let's just finish installing the screws. Don't overtalk, by the way. Once the screw like is sitting against the top plate cover flush, don't like try to tighten more. It's plastic after all. If you continue trying to tighten your screw threads, you're just gonna pull against them and destroy all of them, and your screw will just be loose and it will be like not screwed right. So once all this is done, your inner case assembly is done. So now you need to slide on the side pieces. As you can see, the side of the USB hole to the USB hole. The thinner side of this like 2 slide on pieces should be the top side, so that the outer case sits flush properly and your bottom case screws are hidden. And then once that is done, you slip on the outer case. Some of your units may be a bit tight for this part. Just slide it carefully. Make sure all 4 corners are in first before pushing it all the way in so that you don't damage the pieces. And then that's all. This is the whole build guide. Enjoy your Nutcase.